Okay, well, thank you all for showing up. Today, I'm going to break a little with the uh, 2-month tradition that we've established. I don't know if we would call that a tradition at this point, but I was reading a book, kind of interesting book by Michael Adams called Wandering in Eden. And it's a book of poetry from not poetry, a book of art from the East. And see the guy lounging in the boat, which is kind of one way of unknowing. Uh, and so this was written back in the Alan Watts days, those days in the 60s and 70s where the West was turning to the East. And so since Linnell was kind of looking at how the women's movement had such an impact on the spiritual revolution because of its emphasizing the feminine, which had been totally lost in patriarchal religions, there was a turn to Eastern religions, which had kept the feminine divine very much alive. So if you go out to the Hindu temple in Shreveport, there's always a couple, a divine couple. Every god has his Shakti. He's the form, she's the energizing energy, and they can't create without each other. You need both. So that's very much the foundation of Eastern thought. So it was nice to see kind of where we've come and the importance and the significance of what we're doing, because we would not be here if it wasn't for that history. So it starts with a quote from D.H. Lawrence, interestingly enough.
Who was not exactly for women's lib, was he?
Well, he had an appreciation for the feminine, let's put it that way.
Yes.
Okay.
Some might question it, but nonetheless, he said, what we most passionately want is our living wholeness, our living unison, not our own isolated salvation of our soul. And this is when we were talking about the death of Christianity, that the power of the Christian myth, that we're concerned about our individual salvation, was beginning to lose its grip. More and more people weren't believing in an afterlife, didn't believe in the existence of a soul after death. So we move more and more to, I want salvation in the present moment, right here, right now, not the afterlife. He says, we want our physical fulfillment first and foremost, since now, once and only, we are in the flesh. For humanity, the vast marvel is simply to be alive. For us, as for flower, beast, and bird, the supreme triumph is to be most vividly, most perfectly alive. Whatever the unborn and the dead may know, they cannot know the beauty and the marvel of being alive in the flesh. We ought to dance with rapture that we should be alive and in the flesh and part of an incarnate cosmos. He says, for the East, the need for wholeness persists, but Western religions, for all their differences, are founded upon a dichotomy, a denial of that living wholeness. Humanity is apart from God, apart from nature below, and yet we must strive to be godly and to be all that we cannot by nature be. And at the end of our striving, we may come to stand in adoration before the throne of God, and he can never be one with God. Such a thought is blasphemy. But for Eastern religion, it's a fact. For all their differences, Hinduism, Buddhism, Taoism, and Zen all unequivocally declare that the 10,000 things of life are aspects of a single unity. That living and dying of these things is the way of life itself. That the names we give reality are at best stammered words for what is inexpressibly all in each of us. Poets and mystics among us have said as much. We have, after all, had Jesus among us, but we dismiss poets as dreamers. We save ourselves from Jesus by worshiping him. Bowing before a man is a way of avoiding his gaze. cocks start up to crow whenever a disciple appears. In making a no man's land of the earth and lifting the likes of Jesus up and away from us into high heaven, religion has committed us to a life of impossible longing, to the desire and the pursuit of a whole that can never be. Surprisingly, however, and wonderfully, what Western religions have denied us, our science now offers. By way of material empirical means, science has found that matter is not material only, that there is a whole whose nature cannot be fully known, for we are it. Western science has come in this way to confirm Eastern intuition that humanity is not a part or a part. We are the whole in a way that cannot be known, but can be found and can be lived. Mystery is then at the heart of existence. It's not a supernatural matter, but wholly and only natural, the very nature of things. The whole cannot be known and so cannot be named. It is not a thing, it is a no thing. With the aid of modern science, we can be less surprised to find that the East gives to reality such names as emptiness, nothingness, the void, or space. Such words can terrify us, and even if we could accept them as approximate names for the nameless, they would seem to be empty. It seem to empty our lives of all meaning. And yet those men of the East who speak most freely of the void sit most firmly in the world and delight in all appearances. Inspired by Lao Tzu and Chuanzi, the world of Chinese art is full of a number of ordinary things, lit by the extraordinary attention given to them. Its landscape, serene and full of emptiness, are similarly lit. Emptiness, it seems, in no way denies the world. On the contrary, delight follows upon emptiness, as all else does. If there were no laughter, said Lao Tzu, the Tao would not be what it is. And of course, Alan Watts said, we'll study every philosophy, search through the scriptures, consult every teacher, and practice all spiritual exercises until our minds are swollen with the whole wisdom of the world. But in the end, we shall return to the surprising fact that we walk, we eat, we sleep, feel, and breathe, that whether we are deep in thought or idly passing the time of day, we are alive. And when we can know just that to be our supreme experience of religion, we shall know the final secret and join in the laughter of the gods, for the gods are laughing at themselves and at us. So this meditation by Adyashanti is on unlearning.
Unknowing.
Unknowing all the wisdom that you know, what you thought you know, all the concepts, and begin to learn how to experience what's in front of you directly without the mediation of thought, without the mediation of the conditioned mind, just the direct senses and awareness connecting with each other. And that, as we say, gives us the most vivid experience of reality, like mindfulness eating does, that you actually taste your food. You can feel its impact on your body. You can feel your body thrill to certain tastes. Linnell knows that I burst into tears in restaurants at times just with the taste of the food. If you ever get to the Hive in Fayetteville or Bentonville, wherever it is, a wonderful restaurant, just amazing taste. So he's going to teach us how to begin unlearning so that we can actually enjoy and laugh with the world in its playfulness. So enjoy.
Okay.
Thank you.
So we just begin by just noticing the stillness, the quiet. It really doesn't matter if there's thoughts or feelings or sounds in your environment or whatever may be creating some internal or external noise. We just, all the noise, internal and external, is existing within the context of quietude, of a always and already existing quiet. And so you just let yourself feel that for a moment. Feel that quietude all around you and inside. Let the whole body feel the quiet. And so in essence, we're kind of taking the position of the quiet itself. Because when we kind of assume the quietness itself as ourself, then the noise, internal or external, just stops mattering. And we don't need to push against the intrusion of thought. That the quietness is already in complete acceptance of whatever arises or whatever will arise. It's undisturbed by it. So let's take sort of getting out of the conceptual mind and apply it directly to what we're doing here in meditation. So if we were really outside of our conceptual mind, we actually wouldn't have any idea how to meditate, would we? Because all that is in your thoughts and in your memories. Even the idea of what meditation is supposed to be is in your thoughts and your memories. The idea of what you think you're supposed to attain is only in your thoughts and in your memories. So if we were not in our mind, in our thoughts, preoccupied with our thoughts, Just imagine you're sitting here now and you have no idea how to meditate. You don't even have an idea of what's supposed to be happening in meditation. You know you're sitting down like we are. You know you're paying attention like we are. But beyond that, you really didn't know what was supposed to be happening. Just imagine. And you weren't even trying to figure it out. Imagine you didn't even know what meditation was as you're sitting here, and you weren't even trying to figure it out. So you didn't know what meditation was, you didn't know how to do it, you didn't know the way it was supposed to go, you didn't have any idea what should happen, or even what you wanted to happen, because all that simply exists as thinking. Just thoughts. So I'm encouraging you to enter into this completely unknown place. Without the anxiety of trying to know anything, what this should be, how it should be going, any of that. All of that's just thought. And if you can really enter even for a moment into this kind of immediacy, this completely non-conceptual immediacy, even though if you don't refer to your mind, you don't know what meditation is, you don't know how to do it, you don't know how it's supposed to be going, you don't know if you're doing it well or not. If you just let yourself enter into this completely unknown relationship with this moment of meditating, you'll get a sense, you might notice that actually meditation is happening already. Precisely because you don't know how to do it and you don't know what it's supposed to be like. But somehow, if you notice, by entering into that space, meditation is happening. Meaning there is this natural quiet. And the more you stay in not knowing, the more meditation will just happen on its own. It's really quite extraordinary to notice. And if we really enter this unknown condition, or simply not referencing the mind to tell us what meditation is, how to do it, how we're doing, if we really enter into that condition deeply, as I said, we'll notice that there is this thing, this deep meditative state that arises. It's just there on its own. You don't have to know how to do it, how to create it. And if you don't know how to do it, and you don't know how to create it, and you don't know exactly what it should be, there's really no meditator. Because the meditator is that within you that's always trying to get you to conform to an idea of what this should be. And if we're not listening to those thoughts, then the meditator is like out of a job. There's nothing really for it to do except watch. Watch what happens in its absence. So again, we're just experimenting with bringing this notion of the unknown and applying it in a very real, intimate way to our meditation. So if you get lost in your mind and your mind says, well, what do I do when I get lost in your mind? Just always refer back to, I don't know. And don't look to know, just rest in that state of, I don't know. And as soon as you're in the I don't know state, then the mind is relaxed again. It's a paradox, isn't it? The more we don't know how to meditate, the more it happens all on its own. The more we think we know how it should go, how to do it, the less we're actually meditating. We're just trying to meditate then, but not actually meditating. But if we go back to the I don't know state, meditation is totally natural to that state of being.
So underneath what he taught us today is something that is totally alien to Westerners. Hakuin, who was one of the Zen patriarchs, one of the patriarchs in China when it was Chan Buddhism, before it became Zen, taught that enlightenment arises within us, that what motivates you to even begin to seek whatever it is we're seeking on our cushion is not something that you intended. It's a natural impulse of something that is as natural as the arising of thirst or hunger or the desire for sex, is this desire to be in the state that we just entered. So that it's not something that you strive for, it's not a matter of will. We always think that it's something that I've got to go try to meditate, I've got to study, I've got to do these things. And remember that one of the most universal stories in Zen was the man who comes to a teacher and says, I want to study with you. And the master says, sure, first have some tea with me. And so the tea ceremony is very sacred ceremony. Master's preparing the water and the tea, and the man is just continually talking about how many books he's read, how many teachers he's studied under. And the master begins to pour the tea, and the guy keeps talking. The master keeps pouring the tea, pouring the tea. Tea goes all over the tray, spills in the man's lap. Finally, he wakes up and goes, what are you doing, man? He says, can't you see the cup's already full? And the master says, and you're so full of Zen, I can't teach you. Okay. So the very thing that we're striving for in trying to get it, well, conceptually, what is it that I'm supposed to be doing or studying, is an exact opposition to this unfolding of a natural impulse. So it's more like, I think the analogy would be resetting your palate after it's been ruined by the food that we're offered in this country, where your body no longer recognizes the vibrational level of food. And instead it's driven by dopamine and by all kinds of unnatural impulses, so that we're seeking a certain sensation when we eat, the crunch factor, the creaminess on our tongue, all the things that processed foods build into it to get your brain to crave it. That if we were to eat naturally, you don't see fat people in primitive cultures. The food and the way they eat naturally shuts off the hunger. And we override all those signals trying to diet, trying to figure out how to have a proper relationship with food when we started out having a proper relationship with food. So this idea of it's not what you're doing, it's what you're not doing. It's thinking we've been taught you have to understand something. It's about what you know intellectually, and they're going, no, you've got to let go of all that to get to this place. And you say, then how do you get to that place? Your dog does this, people. Your dog does this, children do this, okay? Well, you sit and do nothing. Think about how we condition our kids. The idle mind is the devil's workshop. Idle hands are the hands of the devil. We are taught to constantly be doing. And the idea that in not doing and in not thinking there's anything of value, we've been trained to think the exact opposite of that. So again, the story of Chuanzi, who was Lao Tzu's disciple, and he was received a message from a messenger that the emperor wanted him to come to the imperial palace to be one of the ministers and to teach Taoism to the emperor. And Chuanzi says, I respectfully decline. And the man's just awed, said, how can you decline an invitation to live in the imperial palace and be revered and have all your needs met? And he says, well, look at that turtle over there. Where do you think he'd rather be, on a pedestal under a glass dome in the imperial palace and fed every day, or out here wagging his tail in the mud? And the guy said, well, of course he'd rather be out here wagging his tail in the mud. And Chuanza says, then leave me alone. Let me wag my tail in the mud. And so these things are so alien to our ear, we don't really let them land. And that is the essence. The essence is that this is your natural state. It's not something it's something that you had to unlearn to do what you're doing now. And that coming back into it creates a whole lot of anxiety. Watch how your mind wants something to do. Your mind wants to get somewhere. It wants to have a goal. It wants to see results. It wants to make progress. That's why Father Kennedy would walk in the room and he'd go, there will be no spiritual seeking. There will be no intense introspection. There will be no self-improvement. Just sit. Just sit. Just sit. So, thoughts, reflections on that?
Anybody else has anything?
Matthew?
Yeah, the meditation was.
Yeah, we can barely hear you, Matthew.
All right, well, I will use my theater voice.
There you go. Now we can hear you. Thank
Got it.
you, Lord Barrymore.
I will use my theater voice and speak as if you are my subjects.
I'm always the subject.
Shit. No, the meditation was very, it was delightful and helpful. It's always hard to speak about this stuff. Um, the unlearning, the non-doing, the paradoxical nature of being in a body and mind that is almost in a different dimension than the Holy Spirit, and almost in a different, the body, mind, ego is what I'm speaking of, the small self.
Right.
Using it to join with the large self is not, it's not a vehicle to get to the large self. And I don't, just that paradoxical, the more you try, the further you get away from it. So that was very helpful. And then what you said about enlightenment was helpful, because I really have never sought, I didn't start this for enlightenment. That is a far too big of a goal for my little, what you helped me with in the very beginning was you said you're already there. Like,
Right.
quit trying to self-improve. And that's what attracted me to this. So the whole enlightenment goal was something that I've always rejected. My
Right.
ego has, because no, I'm not getting on that self-improvement train anymore. But it's kind of like what you say about walking on the ocean and just getting your feet wet, but not your hair. It's like it kind of, in a way, doesn't work without enlightenment. Almost, it's really hard to say what I don't know. It's just, it's kind of like a half-hearted deal.
Yep.
And it doesn't work half-hearted.
No. Okay, and so if you take out the valuation of these different things and simply look at it in terms of where you are in your brain, that if you're in the will centers and the thinking centers, you're not in the center that connects up with reality directly. That's the whole key. So it's not that you're wrong, it's not that you're morally flawed, it's not that you're intellectually flawed, it simply doesn't work. Okay? And so what you're saying, first of all, is that it's not enlightenment that's the problem. It's what I think enlightenment is, which trips everybody up because we think we know. We wouldn't recognize enlightenment if it bit us in the ass. Okay? So as he says, I don't even know what I'm striving for. That's simply a word. All right. Now, what he's saying is that there is an impulse in you that if you allow it to unfold, will take you there without you knowing where you're going. And that takes trust. Okay. And this is where trust, you've heard me say, which is the opposite of belief, gets you there. Trust is your ability to let go of knowing and to take that next step into the next moment without any reassurances. That's an extremely vulnerable place that because we've been traumatized, our brains won't let us go there, okay? It's constantly wanting reassurance about that next step. And that's where compassion comes in. Compassion comes in, well, of course I can't do that. Okay, I can't do it, but trusting that that wholeness wants, Carl Jung said there's a drive in us for wholeness. And I believe that. And that's what they're alluding to, is to trust this longing, this impulse, this hunger for connection with that reality that we had as children. I mean, think back the halcyon days, the days when summers lasted infinitely, um, and you didn't want to come in, and you were out chasing lightning bugs and playing tag and hiding under the bushes and exploring roly-polies and doing all of that kind of stuff. Remember how vivid that was, how there was no hunger for anything outside that experience. There was no wanting more. There was no striving. And that was what we did. That's the natural mind, the natural mind. And why they say, once you're enlightened, you chop wood, you carry water, but you're doing it from a very different center than when, oh, I've got to go out and chop some wood. That's a burden. That life, that's what they mean by suffering.
Oh, I get to go out and chop.
Yeah, wow. Yeah.
What
It's
you,
Go
sorry,
ahead.
what you said and what he said in the meditation was both helpful for me as far as reducing what my ego thinks enlightenment is. And it's just, it happens on what you said and he said. I felt like y'all were saying the same. I felt like what you said after the meditation about enlightenment just happens automatically without try. It just emerges the same way the drive for sex and food emerges. And that was very helpful. Anyway, it was all helpful.
yeah. Yeah, Robert? Are you looking for a high five?
Okay, go ahead. Say it again.
Oh, leave him
I got it. I got it.
The response that I have to the discussion and the leading edge of our exploration is not easy to express because it is silence.
Yeah.
And again, I like the way he says this thing that's so soothing once the ego lets go of it, of the quiet, the silence. It's like as a kid, that feeling that nature doesn't need me to take care of it, and I can simply be in it. And that the peace that's always there reveals itself. It's not that I was out looking for it. It's that if I just immerse myself in that energy, something gets revealed that it can't be revealed when I'm out
That you
trying to
weren't
find it.
looking
Because I wasn't looking for it. So this sounds like plays on words. That's why I want to point you back to your own experience and see if it doesn't validate it. When does this thing creep up on you and all of a sudden it's there and you weren't even looking for it and go, whoa, that was really very fulfilling experience.
It's kind of the definition of a glimmer.
Yeah,
isn't it?
the glimmers are spiritual experiences, okay? Of those when life is full of meaning. I'm not creating meaning, I'm not doing anything. It's just all of a sudden,
then boom.
wow, boom. It hits you in the face and you feel that fullness, that presence. Yeah. Galen?
Yeah, I wanted to say that this has been very helpful for me today to let go, and however it comes out tomorrow with my appointment with Amy, and where I'm having to do meditation at the same time, finding the honey spot on my back so that I'm not having pain there. And then having to stop in terms of the meditation as a part of the process. And so what I read from him was we think we know how to meditate, and we become what we are in that moment, if that makes sense, in terms of how it all let go and let it fit whatever way it's going to fit together.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
The other thing I would ask, why can't we breathe out first and then breathe in? Why, I started thinking about things like that. Why is it turned that way? Can you, turn it another way too?
Good
I'll tell you
question,
exactly why.
Is that a
What's the
Cohen?
first act of life?
You take a breath.
What's the last act of life? The exhale.
I couldn't hear you.
What is the last act of life?
We stop breathing.
The exhale.
The exhale.
We
And
exhale.
there is that
Right. It comes out. Right. We exhale.
inhale and then we
And
exhale.
exhale.
And we're dead. Yeah.
So that is okay. It's good to know. I started thinking about that.
It doesn't make the other way wrong.
Right. So
There's a breath practice in yoga when we do Nadi Shodhana, when you exhale and inhale on one side, and then you switch, and you exhale and inhale on the other side.
Okay.
It's kind of an interesting but powerful breath practice. And yeah, it kind of makes you think about things like
but
that.
you see, the
It's
problem
so
with the Western mind is that we can't separate our dualistic thinking and see that just because one thing comes in front of another thing doesn't make the first thing better than the second thing.
Right. Right.
Together, and they can't be separated. Okay, the in-breath and the out-breath can't be separated. You separate it and you're dead.
Yeah.
So just inhale,
Yeah.
inhale, inhale, inhale.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And you'll find that rhythm, that's the Tao, like I say, my shirt. So you see this line right here where they intersect, that's a sine wave.
Okay.
Okay, right here,
Okay.
sine wave.
I got it.
Turn
Okay.
it on its side, that's how the universe moves. All energy dances in a sine wave.
Mm-hmm.
Can't separate it.
And the first time we started on these exercises to help me through the process, and that I had to let it go and be where I couldn't do the breathing and find the honey spot. I, but I don't have to work, that spot that's gonna give me some relief.
Then again, that's already the egoic mind valuing the not pain over the pain.
Right,
Okay. And
right.
it's that very resistance to pain and seeing it as something that shouldn't be. And this goes back to our Enlightenment philosophies. We thought
Mhm.
that we should only have light and no darkness. We should
I
only
got you.
health but not disease. We should only have life, and every life is worth preserving at any cost, which has got us into the absurd position we're in with the medical profession of
Right.
spending 80% of the medical costs on the last 2 months of a person's life, trying to postpone what's inevitable. Because death is wrong. Someone's got to be to blame. I'm taking someone to court because they died. Well, fucking take God to court. Okay? Because it's built into the process, but that's the way when you think that if I'm in pain, something's wrong. That's where we go. Something's wrong, something's wrong, something's wrong with what? Something's wrong with me. Egoic mind. There you got it. Something's in wrong. For me to be okay, I have to fix this. Your dog doesn't think like that.
No.
No. When they're in pain, they just go rest. They find somewhere comfortable.
Or maybe find a honey spot and let it be.
Yeah.
Just let it be.
They'll just move around, find whatever they can, find the place where there's
And then
less suffering.
let it, yeah.
Yeah. So,
So I'm on my catio, y'all. This is the catio. And here's the cat.
Oh, the cat, the cat.
There's back here. And we have, once upon a time, we had 4 cats out here, and this is our last big buddy right now.
yeah.
Sweet.
We've had a wonderful time, and I don't know if you can hear all the birds talking
Lovely.
out here.
It's great.
Lovely.
So I can just be with the cats and the birds and roll on.
There you
Go
go.
on.
So let's go ahead and close, everybody. Thank you for coming. Thank yourself for coming.
Yay.
Giving yourself a place for your enlightenment to unfold.
Just one home.
Just one home.
Take a deep breath
Oh,
in.
damn. I really want 2 homes. 2 homes is better. Love you all.
Om
Aw,
peace.
Go play.
Namaste.
Thank you, Bart and Linnell.
Thank
welcome.
you.
thank you
Enjoy the
again.
rest of the day.
Yeah.
Bye-bye.
Have a
Take care.
great week, everyone.
Yeah, you too, Linnell and
Happy
Bart and
International
everybody.
Women's Day.
Kaylin, Laura,
All right.
Matthew, Tom, and Alice.
Yeah.
Yeah, I hope
You
you'll all have a
too.
great weekend. Weeks.
Week.
And enjoy your cats, Galen.
Yeah.
Oh, thank you. They're
Good
my
night.
loves.